Hello everyone, Tutu Mora here with the Y, bringing you tools to feel well in your body, mind, and spirit. So today we're going to have a little fun here in response to this year, right? Which can feel like a lot. New things keep shifting and happening. It can feel a little overwhelming. Perhaps we don't have the same support that in the past we've been able to rely on because we are stuck at home and can't engage with people in the same ways. So what we're going to do today is make ourselves a coping kit. You may have heard of this for kids, but we're going to make it for adults, and we're going to have fun while making it and hopefully have fun while engaging in some of these healthy distractions. So the reason why this might be a good idea is that when things get overwhelming, or when we feel activated or triggered in some way, it can be very easy to revert to an unhealthy coping mechanism or an unhealthy way to move through that overwhelming situation. This could look like turning to food when we're not hungry and perhaps really going at some unhealthy food that perhaps we'll regret later. Maybe it's calling up someone who is not the best person to engage with. Maybe it is fill in the blank for you that you'd rather not resort to, and you'd rather replace that with a healthier coping mechanism. And there is nothing wrong with distracting yourself when you feel overwhelmed. Sometimes the intensity of our emotions can be a little bit hard to work with. And so it can be helpful to turn to a distraction for even just 30 minutes while that level of emotional intensity subsides. And then we're able to more clearly sit with ourselves and figure out the right course of action. So there's no shame in needing to step away and take some time and space and distract yourself until you feel a little bit more better able to approach the situation with a calm and centered mind. So we are going to talk about what goes into a coping kit, right? So it really can be anything that works for you. And what we're going to do is just go through a bunch of things, and if something pops out at you and you're like, oh yeah, I love doing that, that can go in your coping kit. If I don't mention something that you feel like should go in there, put it in there. So we're going to start with the actual kit, which I tend to recommend like a shoebox. And you can think back to in middle school when you would, decorate your binders or decorate, your walls, pretty much anything by cutting out like magazines or pictures that you really loved and you felt inspired you. So let's come back to that idea, and you can grab yourself a shoebox and decorate it. Decorate it with pictures of people that you admire, pictures of people that you want to be more like. Maybe it's pictures of things that you find calming. So it can be a scene in nature, it can be some trees. Perhaps it's a good memory, some pictures of friends. Thinking about what makes you feel protected and supported. So maybe it is those close friends of yours. Maybe it's an animal that you associate with feeling really protected. You can throw that imagery on the box as well. I've written some notes here, so I'm just going to turn to those notes. So also, what makes you laugh? Maybe decorating the box with some funny memories or some things that bring you some comedic humor or lighten your mood. So have fun with it. You can draw on the box, you can do the cutting out of the magazines, make it your own and make it something that is gonna feel warm and inviting and approachable for you. So that's kind of step one. And now, decorating the box can be its own distraction in and of itself. So that can be a step one. And now we'll talk about what can go into the box. So what we want to do is, depending on, who you are, you may feel soothed and settled through working with your different senses. So in the box, we're going to have something for all your senses depending on the ways that you feel most settled. And then we're gonna also have things to keep our brains active, as well as things that are just gonna let us land in our bodies at the same time. So let's go through some of those things. So one thing to keep our hands busy, you can have some knitting in the box if you're a knitter. I know a lot of people have been cross-stitching during this quarantine period, so if that's your jam, you can put that in the box as well. Some Play-Doh, perhaps some nail polish if you're someone who likes to paint your finger or toenails. You can have crayons, colored pencils, adult coloring books to keep yourself distracted, and nothing that's going to be too complicated or intense. The last thing that we want to receive when we feel overwhelmed is something that's really detailed. So keep it simple in the coping box. So next, turning to our senses, and we're talking about smell here, you can have some essential oil in the box. So even just like your favorite, maybe that's orange or maybe lavender, you can just rub some of that in your palms and take an inhale, and that can immediately just shift your mood, even if it's just a little bit. So having that essential oil as a resource in the box is good, as well as perhaps a scented candle that you can light during your 30 minutes of I need space, I just need to distract myself in a healthy way until I feel better able to attend to this situation. So scented candle, perhaps a lighter stored in a safe way in the box. Let's see, so for auditory people, always good to have a Spotify playlist ready to go with songs that are going to feel soothing, maybe songs that are going to motivate you to just dance around the room, maybe shake out some of that nervous energy that's been building. Maybe songs that just sort of take you back to a happy memory. So it can be helpful to have those Spotify playlists on your phone ready to go. And then to remind yourself of that playlist, you can write it down on an index card and put it in the box. Also, you can have episodes of TV shows that make you smile. So I am a lover of the TV show The Office. And so in my coping box, perhaps I'd write down a couple of my favorite episodes that I can watch, perhaps while knitting or painting my nails or something. So again, having an index card and writing down the season and the episode number. So, you know, if you're kind of in your funk, you can pick up the card and say, oh, and just turn to that exact one and watch it on your phone, watch it on your tablet or your TV, whatever is accessible to you in the moment. Okay, so another thing that can be helpful to put in your coping box is moving your body and reminders to move your body, because moving your body can facilitate moving some of that emotional energy out of your body. So again, we can't exactly place that easily into the coping box, so you can write things down on an index card. Some helpful ideas could be your favorite episodes of the Wise Stay Home and Recharge with Us series. So, you know, I take you through weekly a bunch of cardio, a bunch of supportive stretches, a bunch of Qigong, a bunch of breath work. What are some of your favorite and most supportive 10-minute videos that the Y has shared for you? Perhaps writing down on an index card some of those supportive videos so that you can turn to those in your box if you select that card. Another thing could be some puzzles, keeping your brain active. So again, let's keep it relatively simple in the coping box. We don't want to feel overwhelmed and then receive a crossword puzzle that's impossible. So a puzzle, perhaps something that's, you know, medium level difficulty in the box, you know, a small puzzle. A crossword, a Sudoku, some sort of word jumble, something that perhaps while you're listening to your Spotify playlist, you've got your candle going and you can do your puzzle. Let's see, I'm looking at my list here. Something that can be also helpful in just helping you feel contained can be a tactile a tactile thing. So perhaps in your box you have a cozy hat to put on. Sometimes putting a hat on can just make you feel a little bit more contained and protected. Maybe it's a pair of fuzzy socks, like slipper socks, that you can put on while you're engaging in these supportive activities, just so you feel a little bit more held. And so think through what those could be for you. Maybe it's a sweatshirt that you can put on and you can just feel a little bit more cozy while you're engaging in these activities. So I want to also bring forward that when we're feeling overwhelmed, options can also feel overwhelming. So even if you have a bunch of wonderful coping mechanisms and tools in your box, if you come at this feeling really activated, really overwhelmed, maybe anxious, or just, the opposite, hypo-arousal, maybe you're feeling a little depressed and apathetic. What you don't need is to make a choice. So having some of these things, like put on your hat, or the episodes, or even just the word knitting, or the word nail polish, or coloring book, putting those on index cards. So basically you have a deck of cards, and each card is an activity, a tool, an episode, a short 10-minute Y video to help you move your body, breath work, or qigong. So each thing has its own card in your deck of tools, and even a card that says a drop of essential oil, put it on your hands, or light the candle. Maybe a card that says take a walk outside in nature. So create your deck of cards in addition to putting all those things in the box. So if you feel overwhelmed, you can open the box, shuffle the deck, and select a card. If you really don't like that activity, you can just select another card. So make it easy for yourself. And your future self, who is gonna be in that moment of overwhelm, will really thank you for putting everything together in one spot. And it's just something that can make you feel taken care of. And in that moment of, oh, I feel really compelled to turn to that thing that I know is unhealthy for me, but it makes me feel so much better, you have another option. You can turn to that coping kit, and even after just 30 minutes, that pull to engage in an unhealthy behavior will have softened. It will have subsided even a little bit, so that you are able to be present and engage and direct yourself in a more positive and healthy way. So I hope you found this helpful. I myself have a coping toolkit, and I highly recommend that everyone have one. There's no shame in having tools to help yourself move through overwhelming situations. In fact, it's a sign of maturity and a sign of self-care to have these tools and make them available to you, especially this year. So once again, I hope you found this supportive, and I'll see you back here next time on the Wise YouTube channel with more tools to help you feel well in your body, mind, and spirit. Take care.